Welcome to Martial Mastery Media. Martial arts are far more than fighting. They are living expressions of culture, philosophy, spirituality, and human resilience. Throughout history, colonial powers tried to erase indigenous martial traditions, but these arts survived through secrecy, adaptation, and sheer determination. From the battlefields of India and the secret akaras of Okinawa to the hidden capoeira rodas of Brazil and the blade-filled jungles of the Philippines, martial arts have been tools of resistance, survival, and identity. In this video, we explore how colonialism reshaped these ancient systems, the struggles and creativity of those who preserved them, and the lessons modern practitioners can learn. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to Martial Mastery Media, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Also, check out our other channels, Galactic Secrets for incredible explorations of space, aliens, and cosmic mysteries, and myths through time, for fascinating stories of legends, folklore, and ancient civilizations. Don't forget to check out our other videos on legendary martial arts masters, ancient techniques, and historical combat traditions for more incredible stories and insights. 1. The global roots of martial arts. Before colonization, before the arrival of European colonial powers, martial arts were integral to education, defense, spiritual development, and cultural identity across the globe. In India, ancient systems like Kalaripayattu, Shastarvidya, and Gatka combined unarmed combat, weapons, healing arts, and meditative practices, forming holistic warrior traditions that trained both body and mind. Kalaripayattu emphasized strikes, locks, grappling, and weapons such as sticks, swords, and spears, while also integrating Ayurvedic medicine, breathing exercises, and yoga to enhance combat readiness and spiritual alignment. Shastar Vidya and Gatka trained Sikh warriors to embody the Sant Sipahi, saint soldier ethos, fusing martial discipline with morality, spiritual devotion, and community defense. In the Philippines, martial arts such as Kali, Eskrima, and Arnis developed among indigenous groups to defend villages, train youth, and preserve local knowledge. These arts emphasized speed, precision, and mobility, often using sticks, blades, and improvised weapons. Combat techniques were embedded in dance, ritual, and community games, ensuring knowledge survived even under oppressive foreign rule. In Brazil, enslaved Africans transformed combat knowledge into capoeira, a dynamic art form disguised as dance. Musical instruments, rhythm, and acrobatics masked lethal strikes and evasive techniques, allowing communities to maintain martial skill while evading colonial authorities. Capoeira became central to quilombos, settlements of escaped slaves, and a symbol of resilience, cultural identity, and rebellion. Across Okinawa, martial arts such as Ryukyu Kobudo and early forms of karate developed as self-defense practices, influenced by Chinese martial systems and local village combat. Because weapons were often banned by ruling elites, Okinawan peasants refined empty-hand techniques, sticks, and farming tools into sophisticated fighting methods. These arts emphasized fluid motion, strategic defense, and adaptability, forming the foundation for modern karate and kobudo. In Africa, warrior traditions from the Zulu kingdom to West African stick fighting and wrestling prepared communities for defense, warfare, and cultural ceremonies. Spears, shields, and hand-to-hand techniques were intertwined with spiritual practices, invoking ancestors or protective forces. Similarly, indigenous peoples in the Americas and Oceania preserved martial practices as part of ceremonial, hunting, and defensive traditions. Across all continents, martial arts were deeply connected to community cohesion, identity, and the integration of body, mind, and spirit. 2. Colonial suppression and cultural erasure. With the arrival of European empires, centuries-old martial traditions faced targeted suppression. In India, British colonial authorities banned Kalaripayattu, Shastarvidya, and Gatka, dismantling local warrior schools, replacing indigenous training with regimented drills, and promoting firearms over traditional weapons. Temples and akharas that once served as centers of martial education were shut down or repurposed. In the Philippines, Spanish authorities forbade martial gatherings and confiscated weapons, while American colonizers later continued restrictions, forcing Filipino martial arts into secrecy. Techniques were often embedded in daily work, folklore, and ritual to preserve the art under oppressive oversight. In Brazil, colonial authorities and slave owners criminalized capoeira, fearing its association with rebellion. Practitioners faced imprisonment and violent repression, forcing the art into hidden rodas and secret training spaces. In Okinawa, the kingdom's rulers prohibited weapon use among peasants, fearing revolt. Although Okinawans transformed these restrictions into creative martial expression, later Japanese and Western influences further altered these systems, standardizing practices and suppressing regional variations. Across Africa, European colonizers disbanded indigenous warrior regiments, banned traditional stick fighting and spear combat, and criminalized local martial traditions. Colonization not only disrupted military capability, but also undermined social and cultural cohesion, erasing centuries of martial knowledge tied to identity and spirituality. Colonial suppression caused a profound loss of combat techniques and cultural context, leaving many martial arts fragmented, nearly forgotten, or hidden behind layers of secrecy and adaptation. 3. Adaptation, secrecy, and cultural survival. Despite attempts at erasure, martial arts survived by adapting and disguising themselves. In Brazil, capoeira thrived as a cultural performance and social practice, blending combat with music and rhythm to evade detection. Filipino martial arts were transmitted covertly, often disguised within dance, storytelling, or labor practices. Families and local communities became secret guardians of blade work, stick fighting, and tactical knowledge. In India, Kalaripayattu and Gatka training continued within hidden akharas, temples, and small family circles, often accompanied by prayer, meditation, and ethical instruction. These hidden schools preserved both the practical and philosophical components of the arts, ensuring the moral and spiritual essence survived. In Okinawa, peasants refined empty-hand techniques, sticks, and improvised weapons into sophisticated fighting systems, passing them down covertly to preserve village defense traditions. African martial systems continued in ceremonial combat, festivals, and initiation rites, embedding resistance into cultural and spiritual practice. These adaptations allowed communities to retain martial skill, cultural identity, and a sense of empowerment even under systemic oppression. 4. Martial arts as tools of resistance. Martial arts became active instruments of rebellion and defense. Filipino warriors used kali, eskrima, and arnis to conduct guerrilla attacks against Spanish, American, and Japanese forces, exploiting speed, stealth, and ambush techniques. In India, Sikh warriors and practitioners of Shastar Vidya and Gatka symbolized resistance and cultural pride while preparing for defense against colonial forces. Capoeira in Brazil became a vehicle for African cultural preservation, identity, and rebellion. In Okinawa, villagers relied on creative empty-hand combat and farm tool techniques to resist oppression, while African warriors employed spear tactics, stick fighting, and wrestling as both military and symbolic resistance. Across continents, martial arts transformed physical skill into social empowerment, providing communities with the means to survive, assert identity, and resist domination. 5. Spirituality, philosophy, and cultural memory. Martial arts preserved spiritual and philosophical frameworks alongside combat techniques. Kalaripayattu incorporated yoga, meditation, and Ayurvedic healing, while Shastar Vidya and Gatka emphasized the Sant Sipahi ethic, blending martial discipline with spiritual and moral instruction. Capoeira's songs and rituals preserved ethical guidance, historical memory, and community cohesion. African and indigenous traditions maintained rituals invoking ancestors or protective spirits, ensuring that combat practice reinforced cultural continuity. Even under colonial suppression, these arts preserved moral, ethical, and spiritual teachings that sustained community resilience. 6. Revival and global influence. Today, suppressed martial arts are experiencing global revival. India's Kalaripayattu and Gatka schools teach combat, philosophy, and healing to new generations. Filipino martial arts are now practiced worldwide, preserving techniques and cultural heritage. Capoeira has become internationally recognized as an art form that fuses dance, music, and martial technique while honoring its historical role in resistance. Okinawan karate and kabuto continue to evolve globally, maintaining connections to traditional principles. African martial practices, from stick fighting to ceremonial wrestling, sustain communal and cultural identity. Modern practitioners not only learn techniques, but also reconnect with the ethical, spiritual, and historical dimensions of these arts, honoring the perseverance of previous generations while adapting to contemporary practice. 7. Lessons for modern martial artists. The story of colonial suppression reminds us that martial arts are cultural, ethical, and spiritual frameworks, not just tools for combat. Strength without discipline or moral grounding can be destructive, but when paired with ethics, humility, and cultural awareness, martial arts become tools for personal growth, social cohesion, and cultural preservation. Understanding these histories allows modern practitioners to appreciate the ingenuity, resilience, and wisdom of those who preserved martial traditions in secrecy and defiance. Martial arts today remain living traditions, dynamic, evolving, and deeply connected to identity, morality, and community. 8. Conclusion. Martial arts as a legacy of resistance colonialism changed, erased, and reshaped martial arts worldwide, yet these traditions survived through adaptation, secrecy, and communal devotion. From capoeira in Brazil, Filipino guerrilla blade tactics, Indian hidden akaras, and Okinawan peasant karate, to African warrior formations, martial arts were never only about fighting. They were instruments of cultural survival, resistance, and identity. Today, these arts inspire and teach us the resilience, creativity, and courage of communities that preserved knowledge under extraordinary challenges. They are more than technical skill. They are living legacies of human spirit, resistance, and cultural memory. 9. Call to action. Join the martial mastery journey if you enjoyed this deep dive into how colonialism shaped, erased, and transformed martial arts traditions around the world. Don't forget to like this video and share it with your friends and fellow martial arts enthusiasts. Subscribe to Martial Mastery Media and hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode exploring legendary warriors, ancient techniques, and martial arts history. Be sure to check out our other channels: Galactic Secrets for incredible explorations of space, aliens, and cosmic mysteries, and Myths Through Time for fascinating stories of legends, folklore, and ancient civilizations. Explore our catalog of martial arts videos including techniques, weapons, masters, and legendary battles from across the globe, and dive deeper into the incredible legacy of human skill, courage, and spirit. Join our community of martial arts history enthusiasts and let the journey continue, because understanding the past makes every strike, movement, and tradition come alive.